Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Spring Invitational Grand Finals between Tagada and Nexus. This is Game 3, guys. If you haven't seen Game 1 and Game 2, please go back and watch that, because obviously Game 3 will contain spoilers. So leave now. Make sure you have checked Game 1 and Game 2, and then come back and see how it's all going to progress, because damn if it isn't tight. It is 1-1 apiece so far in this match. Nexus scraping back that last game on Crazy Rush against Tagada after the amazing start he had in Game 1 on Twin Rivers. Game 3 is going to go down on the ditch, and I can't personally wait to see how it all pans out. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready, so let's go on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Ching. Ka-ching. Instant loading. It's going to be a good one. Let's check out our locations for our heroes, our champs today. We'll start up over here in the east with none other than Tagada. Switching it up now. He's gone Seraphim in Game 1 and Game 2. Now he's switching over to UEF. Nothing to do, of course, with the OP Jaina strike from Nexus that took him out in Game 2. Here he is, though. He's going for it. He's going to go first land. And over in the west, his opponent, the #1 ranked player in FAF at the moment, Nexus. Here he is going Cybrin in his customary fabulous vivacious violet, opening up first and second land. Again, another opening where we see lots of PGens, because, well, it's essentially a larger map with lots and lots of mass to be gained. So these guys have to get as much power up and running as quickly as possible. First engineer out for Tagada. That's going to move up over here. Looks like an attack command there to try and scoop up those rocks. I'm surprised he hasn't pushed that closer to the rocks, actually. But who am I to correct these guys? Let's face it, they know what they are doing. Nexus, after Game 1, lost his 2600 rating, went down to 2500. Surprisingly, having beaten Tagada in Game 2, though, he didn't get it back. Oh, must be fuming. There it is. Nexus doing something very similar by the looks of things. Heading over here. There is a Mex over here, but they're going to start by scooping up all of this mass. If you've got rocks nearby, it is the quickest way to fill up your coffers. And, of course, early game, lots of building is the order of business, especially when you have a map like this with so much mass to get your hands on. Typically, the ditch takes a little bit of a while to get going in a 1v1 situation. You've got this very, very large body of water in the center. You have got that island in the middle with 4 mexes on it. You do sometimes see people go navy, because the proximity of the main bases is so close to the water, and even actually these other positions over here are in range of a bit of cruiser harass if you park them nearby, especially if you're rocking Seraphim or UEF. Those long-range missile cruisers will really ruin your day if they get up inside range to strike your main base. Tagada going for an air factory. We saw him do some serious damage early on with his T1 bombers. Wondering if we're going to see more bomber harass from him now. But first order of business for him was a scout plane, and then switching things up to a transport to help with early expansion. And we also have a skyhook on the way for Nexus in a much similar fashion. Both these guys looking to get engineers out to the far extremities of the map early doors, capitalize on all of the mexes. It's not like Game 2 on Crazy Rush, where you can just sit in your base with quite literally limitless amounts of mass on your doorstep. This is a very different proposition. Normal FAF mode, got to get out there and get your territory. And in that vein, we've got a 6 engineer laden courier heading south of Tagada's base. Drops off 3 at that other starting location over here around that core mass, and another 3, by the looks of things, moving off down to the 2 mexes down here. A patrol route for that air scout, just covering the bottom section of the ditch over there. Meanwhile, 2 engineers dropped off the skyhook for Nexus. They're going to get to work on lots of factories first before worrying about the mass. Plenty of time to pick up those mexes, especially with all of the reclaim that's available on this map. Now he's going to drop off at this position. 2 more NGs make landfall. They get straight to work on a land factory. And 2 more, by the looks of things, heading up to that top corner. So a slightly more aggressive expansion. Will it make it, though, as an interceptor has clocked it? Tagada moving in for the kill. But they're so slow. I think they're going to get on the ground before that skyhook's going to get shot down. We do have an inbound bomber, you can see on the mini-map, belonging to Tagada. Those 2 engineers offloaded. Bomber looking like he was thinking of a redirect, but there is an interceptor right here landed belonging to Nexus. Just waiting to get a read on a hostile air unit that this scout should be able to relay to it. How much attention is Nexus paying? Well, apparently quite a lot. That interceptor took off immediately that scout got a read on that bomber. It spotted the engineers. It's picked off 1. That interceptor, having dealt with the skyhook, is now coming back to try and protect the bomber, but that is too late. Nexus defending nicely there. Another group of interceptors up towards the top left-hand corner of the map now for Tagada, along with another air scout and another transport that's out. 6 engineers on board that courier. Like all likeliness heading up to this starting location over here. Dropping off just southeast of it, east of that hydro point. What's going on over here? A little bit of base harass. So Nexus, having expanded down here to the bottom right, finds himself with a bit of a bomber problem. Tagada focusing in on the land factory as opposed to the engineers that are assisting it. Suppose he takes that out, which he's got every chance of doing. He can clean up the engineers a little bit later. We do have interceptors over here, but they have drifted way out west, and there isn't hostile inbound interceptor belonging to Nexus. But he is not going to be able to save that land factory. Down it goes. The engineers immediately get to work on that other one. That doesn't look like it's going to be successful, not with more bombers inbound. So a nice little bit of stalling tactics for Tagada. Meanwhile, just over here, next to the ditch itself, he is setting up shop with a vengeance. 3 land factories online already, soon to be 4 and 5, with another 6, 7, 8 queued up. And more queued up over here. Look at all the engineers he's depositing on Nexus's side of the ditch here. Interceptors for Nexus finally managed to shoot down those bombers. They have protected that other land factory, and that other engineer, surprisingly, still alive. 2 bombers working their groove over at the bottom left corner. Are they gunships? They are gunships. So we've got a T2 upgrade from Nexus inside 8 minutes, and 3 gunships inside 8 minutes heading off to this new position over here. Tagada is going to want to get to work on some air defense capabilities ASAP. He has got the odd archer kicking about. Still pushing this bomber pressure. We're sticking with this now, but if you look on the mini-map, there is a problem for Tagada brewing at the top left-hand corner of the screen, with lots of mantis pouring out over towards that top position there. Gunships doing what they can to clear up this mess, though. Tagada looking like he has nullified this position. That land factory regenning hit points, but not currently building anything. Gunships doing what they can to try and mitigate the burgundy-shaped, or burgundy-coloured, sorry, problem. Tagada-shaped problem that's found itself burrowed in at that position. And now that stream of Mantis at the top of the screen pushing up on Tagada's northernmost base. But he has got a decent amount of ground forces in place. The question is, has he got the intel? Not a huge amount. He's got a couple of scouts in here, so they're popping up there. But is he paying attention? He'll probably hear those tank exchanges. And in come the Corsairs, the fighter bombers that cause so many issues for Tagada in Game 2. Although those were Janus. Oh, that's a very juicy looking target right there as Tagada flies overhead with a Janus. Needs to get the bombs away. He's going to do that, but just ends up singeing a lot of engineers because Nexus gets a shield online in what you might call the nick of frickin' time. Very nicely handled indeed. Mantis do reach this position. They take out a couple of mexes. Lots of engineers working on more land factories for Tagada, but there are no defenses in play. In this position now under air threat as well. Corsairs strafe over the top. Engineers have erected some railguns though. And we do have another Cybran problem for Tagada in the valley over here. Similar position to what Nexus, to what Tagada, excuse me, chose down here in that valley. But check out that stream, having taken out this position. Stream of spam. It was heading all the way up to the main base, but instead that's not going to push on. That's going to be drawn back, and it looks like Tagada might be mounting a challenge on this set of facilities here, which Nexus is trying to set up. He's already got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 factories in play. And something we haven't mentioned is the naval side of things. We've got torpedo bombers trying to keep Nexus at bay as he sails in towards the main base with some frigates. We do have three naval yards in place for Tagada. Pales into significance next to the 7 naval yards that Nexus has got. But a more immediate problem is the huge quantities of spam that's flowing in towards the main base of Nexus from the southeast. And that's probably why he has paused production of all of those naval yards. Much more concerned about the threat currently being unleashed on his main base. Whalers turn up on the scene. Fortunately, these are all T1 units by the looks of things. Interesting. So we have jumped straight into T3 air production for Tagada, and those ASFs, of which he's got about 7, are steaming in towards the main base of Nexus. That gunship defense is suddenly going to have a much harder time. We've also got some skyboxers, some mobile flak in the mix. We do have some ASFs on the field. So Nexus went straight in for T3 as well. He's just a little bit further behind, and in fact Tagada drawing in all of his T1 interceptors into the fight. Also, he wants complete air supremacy in over the top of Nexus's main base. Cherry on the top right now would be a strap bomber, but it doesn't look like he's got one. Just more ASFs joining the fray. This position over here, just about holding for Tagada. We do have some pesky Tech 2 units. Some Wagners, they're crossing the ditch on the seabed there. Or rather, I should say ditch bed. Just constant streams of units. Whole tank columns. Moving up through what's probably supposed to be some kind of floodplain. And the torpedo bombers we saw countering those frigates earlier of Nexuses have gone to town on those naval yards, and they've almost all been taken out, those naval yards now, and they certainly look like they're going to be. Just 2 remain. We've got 1 Gemini ASF and an interceptor of Nexuses trying to combat that. Januses, meanwhile, stacking up back here for Tagada. Just about still in control of things, but a brick now up front for Nexus. Trouble is, it's got broadsword issues. T3 gunships tearing it up, and those gunships should have no problem now contending with this spam over here. I should think Tagada is going to be able to plug that up. Question is, while he's doing that, can he continue to make headway down here? It does seem as though Nexus is managing to push him back somewhat. These Wagners proving pretty deadly. We've got a couple of Titans down here. And more joining the fray, and a Percival. So we're starting to see T3 numbers amp up down here. And see how quickly this game has escalated from what is a relatively slow start. Stinger T2 gunships back here, contending with the constant stream of Mantis. Broadswords over here, dismantling these factories. Are we going to see Nexus ceasing his attack on this position and rerouting it? It's certainly looking dangerous for him all round. We haven't even stopped to talk about the eco situation. And Tagada is way up on eco. 274 total versus 240. 35k mass advantage. That is nothing to be sniffed at. And Janus now given some kind of attack command. Where exactly is it headed? Now they're going to stop to work on the engineers. 17 minutes down. We're starting to see larger and larger concentrations of Tech 3 units. In this area we've got 5 bricks for Nexus. Over here we've got 13 Titans. Bricks not seemingly engaging this pile head on. They're going to drift southeasterly of it. Uh-oh, but this could be trouble. So those broadswords, having smashed their way through that beachhead over here, crossing over, hitting the factories and annihilating them on the other side of the bank, now continuing to move forward, but they've been caught without fighter support. And in comes Nexus's air wing. That's a disastrous engagement for Tagada. He's going to lose a bunch of broadswords in that. He has dispatched his own fighters. They're inbound now, but he's left with just 2 T3 gunships. That's a very nice snag for Nexus, who's also incidentally making landfall with another group of Wagners over here near Tagada's main base. And once again, broadswords being dispatched to deal with those along with the Janus. Should be able to tidy that up without any trouble. But things are developing down here. This mass Titan approach seems to be paying dividends as Tagada stomps his way through all of this T1 spam. And there goes the Control K and the GG. Nexus knows there was no way out of that one. He was getting pushed back up there at the top. This was a gaping wound that had started to fester. He'd lost his navy. Yes, he was pushing forward with a few bricks up here in towards the main base, but the presence of these gunships made any hope of being impactful against the main base nothing more than wishful thinking. Solid play once again there from Tagada, who now takes it to a 2-1 lead in this grand finals. I hope you'll join me tomorrow for game 4. In the meantime, guys, do check out the Patreon if you want to see a little more action that you haven't seen already. If you don't already subscribe to that, it's just $1 a month, some 23 casts up and running, maybe actually 24 by the time you view this, but nonetheless plenty of content there to be getting on with. But until next time, that'll be tomorrow. Stay well, guys, and stay safe. This is Guile signing out.